Hey everybody, this is John and you're watching the Real Man Rom-Com Review. So today I'm going to do my second part of week 2 of the Hallmark and Great American Family Christmas movies. And I have reviewed the worst 3 of the 6 movies in my last video. So if you want to see what I ranked as my worst movies of this past weekend, then be sure to watch that video. And I'm going to start off this with my number 3 movie for this week, and that was the Great American Family movie, Catering Christmas. So Molly Frost, played by Merritt Patterson, runs Molly's Menu Magic catering service. Now, Molly is a relatively new and unknown caterer in the area, and she needs to land some big events in order to keep her business afloat. Carson Harrison, played by Daniel Lessing, is an event photographer who is home for the holidays visiting his Aunt Jean, who runs the Harrison Foundation. Now, Aunt Jean is ready to retire and she wants Carson to take over the foundation next year. It's 8 days before Christmas and Aunt Jean has decided to fire the caterer for the annual Harrison Foundation Gala, and she needs to find a new caterer stat. Molly's Menu Magic is given a tryout interview, and as Molly arrives at the Harrison's house to start her new tryout, she tells Robert, who's the estate manager, that the sous chef is about to arrive any minute. Carson comes into the kitchen, and who she assumes is the sous chef, and she starts bossing him around. Now, Carson is asked to mince celery, and of course he has no idea how to do it. And of course, that led to him basically chopping chunks of celery. At which point, Robert comes in to tell her that the sous chef has arrived. Introductions are made. Embarrassment ensues. Molly prepares the dishes for the tasting, which Jean really barely tastes. But during that tasting, Jean tells Molly that she misses the walnut fudge that her grandfather used to make when she was younger. Molly offers to make it for her, but Jean tells her the recipe is lost. Molly is now determined to figure out how to make that fudge recipe. Now, Molly gives Carson a cookie baking lesson and discovers that her secret cookie spice mix is running low. So she has to go visit a farm outside of town to get some of the ingredients, and Carson offers to drive her. And while they're there, he takes photos at the farm, and they go off and do other things, and the relationship continues to grow as they plan the menu for the gala. Now, Carson has no idea what the Harrison Foundation actually does for the community, so Molly takes Carson to the community center that the Harrison Foundation created, and Carson discovers that they provide free child care and other activities for those in need in the community. He also finds out that Molly attended that center when she was a child, and this is where she discovered her love of cooking. Meanwhile, getting ready for the gala, the auction house that supplies Jean with her silent auction items sells the items that were meant for the auction. Upon hearing from Carson that the auction will not occur, Molly comes up with the idea of Carson auctioning off the photos that he took while they were out at the farm. Carson also gets artwork that the kids at the community center did to add to the auction. Now, just as Molly and Carson are about to have that first kiss, in barges Isabella, Carson's booking agent. She's booked Carson to shoot some famous person's Christmas party in Berlin, but they have to leave now. Carson's reluctant to leave, and when Marty learns of Carson's job opportunity, she refuses to speak to him about it. What a bonehead. The gala is a great success, and Jean hires Molly to be her full-time caterer, securing the future of Molly's Menu Magic. Molly, in return, after a couple of failed attempts, successfully makes the walnut fudge. And Molly reveals that she did some research and discovered that her grandfather used hickory nuts instead of walnuts. Jean asks Molly to make a batch and bring it to an event that evening. And when she gets there, Carson's also there, who was told by Jean to come and help out at the event. Carson informs her that he is the new director of the Harrison Foundation. Kissy kissy, hickory fudge brownies for all. So while this is a good Christmas movie, it wasn't great. Now they had hot cocoa scenes, and they had a cookie baking scene, but it didn't have those go-to moments that we all loved. Like no flour was thrown on each other, there was no whipped cream on the nose, and of course because of all that, we didn't get that moment when Carson would reach over and wipe that little thing off of her cheek. So let's talk about this gala. This gala was only 25 people. I mean, these must be some very wealthy people if this is the major fundraiser for a foundation that's going to provide free childcare for people. Anyway, the one thing that annoyed Lisa and I when we kept watching this movie was that Molly was really bad about leaving food laying everywhere. I mean, they were doing cookies at the Harrison's kitchen, and she figures out that she's run low on this mix, and they just up and leave this disaster kitchen with cookie stuff all over the place. And then she's making fudge, and she puts half of it into a container and goes running off to go give it to Jean while she leaves it there. Now look, this is the kind of stuff that attracts things that get you on the local news channel's failed inspection segments. You know what I mean? Anyway, Mary Patterson is one of my favorites, and Daniel Lessing is growing on me the more movies I see him in. Their relationship's believable, and you can see how Carson doesn't want to leave Molly and how mad Molly is for letting love get in the way of her developing business. Of course, it was cute to see Robert and Jean finally get together. You could see Jean let her hair down after that, and you could see that there is actually a softer side to her hardness. It's a good feel-good Christmas movie and a good entry for the Great American Family to add to their list. While I might not watch it again this year, it is one that I look forward to watching for years in the future. My number 2 movie was Jolly Good Christmas on the Hallmark Channel. Now it's December 23rd, and New York-based architect David, who's played by Will Kemp, is working for a firm in London, and he's out Christmas shopping for his girlfriend Charlotte, aka Char. After getting a call that David is urgently needed back into the office, David quickly grabs a gift card from the store to give to Charlotte for Christmas. And while leaving the mall, David runs into Angelique Patel, aka Angie, played by Resh Machete. Now, unable to hail a cab, David resorts to taking a bus back to the office, where he once again runs into Angie and her giant teddy bear. Angie discovers that David has purchased his new girlfriend a gift card for Christmas, to which she responds with the kind of laugh that says, "Good luck with that, mister." David explains that he and Char agreed to have a simple Christmas, so nothing wrong with a gift card. We later discover that Char is the daughter of David's demanding boss, Simon, and after realizing that the gift card might not give the right impression to Simon and his family, he realizes that he needs to find the perfect gift. Now, meanwhile, Angie opens the bag, which is supposed to contain a necklace and pendant, but instead finds a gift card. Seems she and David switched gifts as he helped her off the bus. Angie then proceeds to go to David's office, where she has to run past the receptionist to find David, who has also realized that he has the wrong gift. Now, David implores Angie to help him find the perfect gift to Charlotte, and since he knows very little about her, Angie drags him along to help her find the gift. So while at the mall, David spots Char, and despite his attempts to hide, he's caught with Angie in tow. Angie uses this opportunity to question Char to get a better idea about what David should buy her. When David and Angie leave the store, they are stopped by security. You see, it seems David tucked away a rather expensive necklace in his coat pocket while they were trying to hide from Char, and they're about to be arrested for shoplifting. Angie distracts the security man by yelling, "Look, the king!" and they tear off through the streets of London to escape arrest. Now, David is called back to the office early when a meeting with an important client is moved up. And while trying to leave, he ends up falling into a pond or river, some kind of water thing. And there's no way he's going to make it to the meeting on time. Now, Angie takes David back to her place to dry off his clothes, and there they hatch a plan to attend a gala event that the client David was supposed to meet with will be attending. Angie's friend, who happens to be working the event, helps them get into the event through the kitchen, and just as David and Angie are about to approach the client, here comes Simon, his boss. Once again, Charlotte catches David and Angie together at the event, and she now thinks that David is cheating on her. And when they leave the event, they find that Angie's car has been towed. The impound lot is closed. I mean, after all, it is Christmas. And David left his flat keys in his other pants, which are in Angie's car. Angie takes David to her parents' restaurant, and later that evening, David's keys fall out from his coat pocket, and he tells Angie that he just couldn't leave her alone. But before he bids her goodnight, he gives her a kiss on the cheek, and wham! The sparks that were smoldering all day long become a roaring fire. So we're now at Christmas Eve, and Charlotte and David meet to talk about what happened the night before. They realize they're not right to each other, and they call off the relationship. Char gives David the Christmas present she got him, a gift card from the same store that he bought one for her from. Now David shows up at Angie's restaurant and asks the customer to put a gift that he got for her under the tree. When Angie opens the gift, it's a pen that she wanted at a store where she and David had gone to earlier that day. When David and Angie were shopping together, Angie told David about the Westminster gift, or something like that. Westminster wish, I think is what it was. Anyway, you go to the river at midnight, you throw a coin in the river, and your wish will come true. Well, lo and behold, that evening at midnight, they show up at the river, and they're both there together. They both throw a coin in, kissy kissy, perfect Christmas gift. So this movie really surprised me. I mean, the scenes where David and Angie are hiding from Char are really funny. And the chase scene throughout London had me in stitches. If David fell into the pond, I burst out laughing as well. Now, while this is an early entry into the Christmas movie season, this may be the sleeper movie of the year for me. I highly recommend watching this movie. I mean, maybe this is the kind of movie that maybe they can figure out a way to maybe bring them back into a sequel. Maybe something about a crazy wedding or a kid or something like that. But I highly recommend that you watch Jolly Good Christmas. And now, before I get to my number one movie, a quick recap. Number 6 was Christmas Lovers Anonymous. Number 5, A Cozy Christmas Inn. Number 4, Christmas Bedtime Stories. Number 3, Catering Christmas. And number 2, Jolly Good Christmas, which brings me to my number one movie of this past weekend, Ghosts of Christmas Always. This movie is a retelling of the classic Christmas Carol story, but with a few twists thrown in. In this version, the ghosts work together and assign their next target in advance. Now we get to follow Catherine, or Kat, played by Kim Matula, who is the ghost of Christmas past, Arlene, who plays the ghost of Christmas present, and Roy, who is the ghost of Christmas future, as they are assigned to help Peter Barron, played by Ian Harding, find, actually they aren't really sure what they're supposed to help him find because he seems to have Christmas spirit. But earlier in the movie, before being assigned to Peter, Kat, at her last assignment, wanders into a place that seems very familiar to her. Peter comes in and he seems to recognize her too, and they talk, but they can't place each other's where they know each other from. But anyway, so flashback to now. So the ghosts show up to tell Peter that they're here to give him whatever it is that they're trying to give him back. And Peter remembers that he saw Kat last year, and that's not supposed to happen. So Peter, when he goes to go off with Christmas past, wants Kat to come along. Now that's not supposed to happen either, but reluctantly, she's allowed to come along. We see Peter as a child with his father and grandfather. Now, Peter's grandfather is a kind and giving soul, much like Peter is today. And Peter's father turns out to be, he's basically a Scrooge. All work and no play. Peter's father grew the food business that Peter's grandfather started into a thriving company. And Peter eventually decides to go to work for his dad at the company. So that's kind of what we find out about Christmas past. Now we go into Christmas present, and we see that on Monday of the Christmas week, Peter is offered to run the company that his dad built. The next day, he's handing out food from one of the company's food trucks. But on Wednesday, the food truck is gone, and we find out that that's because Peter's dad told Peter he couldn't do that anymore because it was too much of a risk to use company property to hand out food to people because they might get sued. So while all of this is going on, Peter and Kat start to become close with each other, and they start to reveal things to each other. And as the day goes, Peter eventually tells Kat that this would be the part of the day where he would finally ask her on a date. And poof, all of a sudden they're back and their time seems to be over. But neither Peter nor Kat want their time to end, so they're allowed to go back for a little longer. And it's when they go back that Kat finally shows Peter his ex, Rachel. And Kat reveals that this could be his future if he chooses, which ends their time with the Ghost of Christmas Present. Now they go back, they show all the ghosts, they're back at the main ghost office, or whatever it's called, and they discover that they were working on the wrong Peter. You see, they were supposed to be working on Peter's dad, Peter Robert Barron. Now I won't spoil the rest of the movie for you from here, but suffice it to say that Peter and a cat do eventually get together, and kissy kissy, God bless everyone. Now this movie was jam-packed with a lot of twists and turns, and while I figured out that the ghosts were working on the wrong person, I didn't see all the other turns that this story would take. So this made the old worn-out Christmas Carol story fun again. Because of all the twists and turns, this is a movie you have to watch from start to finish. You have to pay attention or you're going to get lost and miss things. So Kim Matula reminded me of a cross between Ashley Williams and Nikki DeLoach, which I found very intriguing. Now, while we got very little from the Ghost of Christmas Future, you'll understand why that happens as the movie comes to its end. Be sure to add this to your watch list, and I think that you will enjoy it. Now, if you've enjoyed this review, give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and all that good stuff. Thanks for joining. This is John. Merry Christmas, and you've been watching the Real Man Rom-Com Review.